Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 202. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch the show live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011. Whenever we go live, join in the chat, join in the fun and conversation with us. But if you can't catch us live, that's A-OK. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, wherever you're watching, listening, wherever you're partaking in the content, if you could drop a follow, sub, whatever it is, it may take just a second. It may seem small, but it does help the channel grow. So if you take the time to do that, we would love and appreciate you for it. Today, we're talking a whole bunch of wrestling. As of recording last night, the Royal Rumble just happened. So I want to talk about what happened at the Rumble, who showed up, who didn't show up, and then we're going to roll into some WrestleMania predictions. See if we can predict a whole card based on the Rumble stuff. So yeah, overall, how was the Rumble? So the Rumble this year, I think, was a fun time. I don't know if it's just I don't know if camaraderie is the right term, but just the enjoyment of watching it with others, the hype and the excitement of like who's the surprises are going to be, and the silly raffles of like, oh, I got this number, I got that number. Just enjoying it with others always adds another extra layer to it. So I'm not sure if it's just that component or if this was just a really fun year in terms of the Rumble. Were the results overall predictable? Yeah, I'd say so. But I would say it was fun throughout. There was definitely, some things that stood out a little bit more in terms of like quality compared to others, or more excitement level than other stuff. So yeah, we'll jump on into it. So yeah, there were 4 matches. We had both the men's and women's Rumbles. We had the Fatal 4-Way for the Universal Galactic title. And then we had the U.S. Championship. I'm going to start with the U.S. title. So the order it did go: women's, Fatal 4-Way, U.S., and then men's. Weird order. I expected the Rumbles to pad, or, do the start-finish thing, just because obviously there's a lot of excitement with the Rumble, with the entries coming in. So that's a good way to start to get the energy up, and then just the drama of who's going to win it towards the end. So that made perfect sense. It was just weird to have the Fatal 4-Way prior to the U.S. title match. I guess the reason for that would pertain to the men's Rumble later, maybe so give Roman enough time to regather himself to sit in the skybox to watch the Rumble. I don't know. It just seemed odd to not have those at least flipped. You would think that would be the case just because it's the quote-unquote bigger title. So that's the order it actually went, but we'll talk about the matches, obviously, in a different order. So let's talk about the U.S. So Kevin Owens going against Logan Paul, with Logan Paul defending and retaining this time due to some shenanigans. I thought the match was good. I thought the two did a very good job. It was way faster pace, or more involved than the Fatal 4-Way that it followed. It's just unfortunate, yeah, ended in shenanigans. It seemed like it would be a victory for Kevin at one point, with the referee being on full alert today, catching Logan Paul's manager, friend, whoever, trying to get in, giving the brass knucks per usual. Then we got A-Town Down Under coming out and actually passing the knucks over. Kevin avoiding it, then Kevin using them for himself, and then Eagle Eye referee noticing that he still had the knuckles on his hand whilst in a pin, ending in a disqualification. So, shenanigans there, so I guess you can keep building this. Maybe, I guess that means potentially Mania for Owens and Paul, if you're going to keep it going for 3 months. That's where it could get a little sketchy. I don't know if this would potentially continue to an Elimination Chamber type deal. I guess we'll have to keep our eyes on that, but we'll continue this for now. But yeah, Eagle Eye Ref being on top of everything. I did enjoy the match. Just a little disappointing, obviously, the shenanigan finish. I did appreciate that they were like, oh, well, Logan's been cheating a lot, so let's do something different, where obviously Kevin gets caught in comparison to just Logan cheating and then nothing happening from it. I did enjoy or appreciate doing something different instead of same old, same old. Just obviously you feel bad for the good guy. That's what you're supposed to do when the shenanigans type deal happens. So, but I thought the two worked very well together. And I would say, honestly, that was the better of the 2 title matches, in my opinion. So let's talk about the Fatal 4-Way for the World Universal, whatever it's called, title with Roman. So you had AJ Styles, LA Knight, and Randy Orton going after Roman. Roman would end up retaining. Shocker. I mean, we did have a little tension with a lot of things going into this pay-per-view, but he retains. He holds on to it. Our tribal chief. This match was very slow, or at least it felt very slow. I don't know if it was just in comparison to the Rumble, where obviously the exciting elements of people showing up and the surprises and whatnot. But yeah, this one just felt slow, methodical. Not that Roman's matches haven't felt that way over this reign, but in comparison to those, with this being the multi-man match, this just felt off. Not that anything went wrong, not that anything went poorly in terms of what the competitors did. It just felt very segmented, or like it dragged on in a way, and I don't know how to describe it better. Roman never really got super into his offense. He got it at the end. He was taking a beating at the beginning. Solo obviously coming in and wiping out part of the crowd. Typical also in terms of this reign. But yeah, for some reason it just felt like, oh, we're going to beat up on Roman, and then things are going to happen, and it's going to kind of roll into his, his wheelhouse, or he's going to pick up on this opportunity, which once again, they've done it before. It just didn't feel to deliver as others have, and I'm not sure if it's just different expectations with it being the four-way, if like more would be able to go on. This felt more like, I don't want to say lazy, but typical, or ways where you do a triple threat or a fatal four-way. Two guys do a lot, the other guys kind of take a break, and it kind of rotates or pivots in, like who's in there, and everybody kind of takes turns. I get it from a camera perspective why you would want to do that, so you don't miss anything, but it felt slow. It didn't feel like a great match. Obviously those four are big names, but it didn't do anything really, and I'm not sure if it was just the expectation that Roman is going to win that took away from it as well, or if it was just the pacing. But yeah, I would say this was probably the low point, in my opinion, of the Rumble. So let's talk about the Women's Rumble, or yeah, let's jump into the Women's Rumble. Let's jump into both of them. I don't know why I'm circling around. Jump into both of those, but Women's Rumble will start. I would say the ladies crushed it. Now, crushed it in terms of excitement. In ring, yeah, there was a lot of rough spots, I felt. A lot of misses, a lot of close calls, or things that just did not go super well. But I think in terms of a Rumble, this was more exciting than the men's. Overall, across the board from both Rumbles, there weren't that many surprises. We did get some returns. There was no legend involvement anywhere. And I guess that's a good sign. That means, you have the roster to have enough stars to fill this, and fill sounds like a negative word as well, but you have that talent depth to have all these spots filled and not have to rely on outside sources. I would have appreciated, I think that's also just a fun factor of the Rumble, that nostalgia factor of like, oh, so-and-so's here, and then seeing the generational like face-offs, the typical thing of like, oh, so-and-so crossing paths. That's just a fun moment. But we didn't get any of that in either Rumble. We stuck to just mainly the main roster talent. We did get a few NXT people showing up. We did get one big surprise in the Women's Rumble, which we'll talk about now. All right, so we started with Natalya and a returning Naomi, which is a huge, well, not really surprise. I guess there was a lot of things leaning towards it, but that was fun to see her back here. Hopefully, get the ball rolling with her, and she's happy. Seems like she was very happy being back, but awesome to see Naomi back. I definitely was very excited for that. Bayley would come in after that, Candice LeRae, then the big surprise of TNA Knockouts champion Jordynne Grace. That one did not expect at all. I know we had Mickie James in the past. I think that was more of a feel-good or a make-good moment with the whole way she departed and how she was treated. But to see that this relationship is continuing, seemingly, with another appearance from TNA's talent, that's awesome. I think Endeavor, which is like the parent company TKO, I don't remember. I think they have some kind of deal with TNA. I don't know if it's a streaming service or some platform for them to produce content on. So I don't know if this is, connected to that or if it's just companies working together. But regardless, great to see her in there. Obviously, we get a lot of fun face-offs. Bianca was eventually the one to take her out, but she was in there for almost 20 minutes, so good for her. After Jordan, we had Indy Hartwell, we had Asuka, Ivy Nile, Katana Chance, Bianca Belair, Kairi Sane, Tegan Nox, Kaden Carter, Chelsea Green, Piper Niven, Xia Li, Zelina Vega, Maxine Dupree, Nia Jax, Shotzi, Becky Lynch, Alba Fire, Shayna Baszler, Valhalla, Michin, Zoe Stark, Roxanne Perez making another appearance, Jade Cargill finally making her debut, which was exciting, Tiffany Stratton from NXT, and then Liv Morgan making a return from the elbow injury. So, some fun ones towards the end there. Everybody pops huge for Jade making her appearance finally. We had a lot of teases, obviously, when she first signed, showing up on all 3 brands, having brief interactions with some people, but this was her first in-ring match here. Got a great reaction. A little surprised Roxanne was in here. Not that she doesn't deserve it or isn't ready for the main roster, just she was involved last year, being her home state. Made sense. I don't know if this was... I know a lot of people were talking about Cora Jade coming back, if she was going to be called up. Personally, I'm not a Cora Jade fan in terms of her personality, her character, but she's been there for a while. She's decent in ring, and I know a lot of people are excited for her. I don't know if this was going to be her spot, but unfortunately with her leg injury, I think it was also an ACL tear, but I'm not sure. She just came back recently around Survivor Series time. Deadline, that's what it was. NXT Deadline had this injury, so she had to drop out of the title match or plan they had with Lyra Valkyria for Vengeance Day. I don't know if this spot was also for her because Roxanne filled the title picture. We'll have to see. But she was back in there, and then yeah, Tiffany, I think a lot of people were expecting was higher up on like, oh, if NXT people are going to show up, who's going to be the ones to make it? And Tiffany having 29, she got a decent reaction. We had some fun moments of stare-offs and kind of continuation with Becky. So good to see her there as well. So, like I said, I felt this one was more fun, had some more fun surprises. This one felt also longer than the men's. The men's felt a little quick. I don't know why. Sometimes it just happens to go that way where it's like, wow, the action in between the entrance is kind of more filled, so it feels like that time is going faster than it actually is. I'm not sure if it was that for the men's, because like I said, there were some rough spots in this one with the women's where it wasn't for a lack of trying, it just was certain things, like I said, slips, mix-ups, whatever it was, for a couple talents. I don't know if that played a factor into it, and some of the in-betweens were a little bit slower. Not sure. So yeah, standouts for this one. Naomi lasted an hour in there, which is fantastic. So she was part of the final 4, I believe. Jordan Grace, like I said, did fantastic. We had a fun little spot with her and Ivy Nile showing off some strength, and then Bianca would eventually take her out. So that was a fun crossover as well. Poor Kairi Sane. I don't know if Kairi was supposed to fall out of the ring that quick. Certainly didn't look like it. She kind of had to do, everybody's doing like the Spider-Man Tobey Maguire meme with the train, trying to stop that. She was holding on to that apron, but unfortunately couldn't keep up or stay up there. That seemed to be the only big mistakes if she wasn't supposed to fall at that time. And her and Asuka were supposed to get knocked out together later, but that was just the biggest mishap. Chelsea Green being a little bit of an MVP in comparison to her last year's surprise entrance with the 5-second run. Here she kind of got to be the punching bag for a lot of people. She knows her role, she fills it very well. So yeah, just an entertaining time that definitely had a lot of laughs going on there. Maxine, hate to call it out, but yeah, you need some work. Just got to get in the ring and work some more. I don't know. Let's see. We had a fun spot with R-Truth doing this is the women's rumble. Whoops. I'll just say that. And yeah, Jade did great. Took out Nia Jax single-handedly. It's crazy. Good for her. And then had a nice little dueling spot with Bianca in terms of like a big press above her head. So that was good as well. Trying to think of anything else that was like big standout. No, so like I said, Naomi was Final Four. Bayley obviously winning the whole thing, setting a new record for the Women's Rumble of 1 hour, 3 minutes. Who else lasted in here a while? Bianca was there for 47 minutes. So there was the top 3 in terms of time. I think the Final Four, let's see if WWE put it in their wrap up here. I assume they would have. Let's see. Field dwindled to Bayley, Morgan, Belair, Stratton, and Cargill. So there was your final 5. So yeah, pretty good field there. I appreciated also the way they finished this. So they kind of, all 3 ladies went over the top rope. It was Bayley, oh boy, Bayley, Jade, and someone. Was it Liv? I think it was Liv. Yeah, Morgan, Bayley, and Cargill all battling on the apron. Morgan eliminated Cargill with an Oblivion on the outside, or to the outside, but she left herself vulnerable, and then Bayley kind of just like, boop, kicked her out, kicked her feet out from under her, and got there. So yeah, I appreciate just like the creativity, or mix up at least with eliminations there. That was nice. So yeah, ladies was a lot of fun in terms of surprises. Like I said, in-ring, a little bit could have been better. But some fun stuff there. So let's move over to the Men's Rumble. This one wrapped up the night. And in comparison to the women's, this one was a little bit more cut and dry, I feel, in terms of entrance and surprises. We didn't have as much fun stuff going on, and also it felt like it went a lot faster. So running through the participants, we had Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, so bros squaring off, yeet, no yeet. Grayson Waller, Andrade making his return. Carmelo Hayes, call up. I know he's kind of been on SmackDown. Shinsuke, Santos, Escobar, Karrion Kross, Dominic Mysterio, Carlito, Bobby Lashley, Ludwig Kaiser, Austin Theory, Finn Balor, Cody Rhodes, Bronson Reed, Kofi Kingston, Gunther, Ivar, Braun Breaker from NXT. Excuse me. Omos, Pat McAfee, JD McDonough, R-Truth, The Miz, Damian Priest, CM Punk, Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, and a returning Sami Zayn. So, we're getting, we get the brothers meeting. They claimed for the first time. I think there was a time when Jay and Cody were Undisputed Tag Champs. They were on SmackDown and they crossed paths real quick. But this is the first big altercation between the two, with Jimmy and Jay, so them starting it out. Andrade making his return, we kind of figured with him leaving AEW. Cool, I guess, to see, but not that exciting just because it was very, I don't know if predictable is the right word, but it was assumed he was coming back, so wasn't super hype. Also, they changed his music, so that was a little hard to be like, oh, it's you! Like, everybody had to take a second when they put the name on the Titantron, like, I feel like they should use the old song for a return, and then you can mix it up later if you're going to have somebody coming back, but whatever. We had 2 NXT call-ups. I'm going to say loosely NXT call-ups, with Braun Breaker being the one, or rather appearances, not call-ups. And then Carmelo. Like I said, Carmelo's been kind of pulling double duty on SmackDown. He's trying to wrap up that story down in NXT with Trick Williams. So I don't know if he's a full call-up yet to the main roster, or if he's just kind of dabbling in there with the U.S. tournament and then dealing with Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. We'll have to see how that plays out, if he continues to be on SmackDown and move up there. But we had the 2 NXT call-ups there. Sorry, appearances. But other than those 3... I guess Pat McAfee was a fun one. That, I will say, they had 2 comical moments that were great. We talked about R-Truth earlier. We'll get back to him in a moment. But Pat McAfee being in the Rumble, I personally enjoyed it. It was funny. Especially when he got in there all hyped. He's there against Omos and Braun Breaker. Does the stare down. Climbs up to eliminate himself. Pumps himself back up. and then is like, no. Gets back out. So that was funny. He was in there for 38 seconds. And then obviously Michael Cole making the joke of like, yes, I still have the record in terms of announcers. That was just another layer to it, especially with them being friends. And then R-Truth. Thank you, WWE, for being logical. R-Truth came out at number 24 for the ladies with Valhalla's entrance. He also did come out at 24 for his own entrance. So thank you for being not dumb and doing a different number. So he comes out. Dominic's in the ring. And he stands there and wants to tag into the match. Crowd got into it. They're clapping for the hot tag as Dominic was, I believe, being attacked by Gunther. Gets the hot tag, runs wild. Eventually gets eliminated by Damian Priest. So I think it's just over... emotions running over from Monday with Priest and McIntyre. Truth getting involved there. We'll have to see how this continues Judgment Day wise, if Truth's going to keep trying to be in the group or whatever. But two comical moments there. So, other returns, we did have Sami Zayn taking a little break. I know he had a kayfabe injury, I believe his knee, a few months ago when actually we were there, and the knee got attacked backstage by Drew. So nice to see him come back, kind of continue that story with Drew. Omos making a return after the long-ass time. I think his last appearance... oh, boy. Was it Saudi? I don't know. I feel like it's that. I'm not sure what the plan is with Omos. He got drafted to a free agency, and he's been kind of popping up rarely here or there. Other than that, everybody else was... typical. Yeah. So, let's talk about story building. At least in terms of the Rumble alone before we move on to topic 2 with Mania stuff. This is another one. There was the Royal Rumble with the pandemic. We called out Charlotte and Lacey. Lacey was with Ric Flair at the time, and Charlotte wasn't feeling great about it. Wasn't a great story, so let's pump the brakes there too, or add on to that. I don't know. But the two of them come out. It's a big hoopla when Lacey initially comes out. Charlotte and her kind of interact, and then they just go distant from each other. And unfortunately, I feel like we had a rerun of this with the Usos stuff. Obviously, with being 1 and 2, they were kind of forced to fight and interact. Duh, makes sense. There was a few times where Jimmy would dip in, get an ally. He was another MVP in terms of comical stuff with the Rumble. The amount of allies he tried to make, hit up the DAP, and then get slapped, especially by Gunther. That was probably the best one after his little King Nana dance, or Prince Nana dance. He would come in, he would make a quick alliance, probably stomp on Jay a few more times, and then he was out. You didn't have any tension build between the brothers of like an Uso eliminating an Uso. Jimmy Uso got eliminated by Braun Breaker, and Jay got eliminated by Gunther. Now, you could take a little bit of story building with the Gunther-Jay thing, if they're going to go the IC title route that way, fine. But you would think if they're so tense with each other, you should have had Jay eliminate Jimmy. I don't know. It just seems like that would have been a nice building block if that's the route we go later. Later on, so Shinsuke and Cody, that one made sense. Cody was getting his revenge. Shinsuke said he was going to be hunting him down because he was hungry. We had the Crossroads on the ropes. It was a pretty cool elimination, pretty unique. So that one, bang, nailed it. Santos and Carlito. Carlito eliminated Santos Escobar, so you got to build there. You get Bobby Lashley and Karrion Kross. Kross gets eliminated by Lashley. Authors of Pain come down, and then they all get Lashley out there. You get a little bit of continuation with the Imperium and New Day as Kofi gets eliminated by Ludwig. No even attempt at a save this year from Kofi. So I think they've kind of learned, like, maybe it's time to give that up. A little unfortunate, because that was always a fun spot in there too, but I understand that's a lot of creativity that goes into those spots, and I can't imagine thinking of something new every time. Maybe in a few years they can revisit just something they have done in the past. Maybe with Kofi himself or with somebody else. I know Naomi, people are talking about she didn't get a big save spot this year either. I know Katana Chance did it 1 year when she was known as Casey Catanzaro, I think, for her first Rumble. So, who knows? Give it time. Let it breathe. You know, we'll see. Sorry. So Kofi eliminated Ludwig. Gunther eliminated Kofi. Okay, so you get the continuation of the build there. Braun Breaker went on its hair. He eliminated Uso, Balor, Ivar, and Breaker. Wait, he eliminated himself? Someone mistyped. I don't know how he eliminated himself. Let's see, get that. Truth and Priest we talked about. Okay, Sammy and Drew we continued. No, Sammy got eliminated by Zayn. I just said the same name. McIntyre eliminated Sami Zayn. That's what it is. So you do get a continuation there. CM Punk was the one to eventually throw out McIntyre. And then, yeah, you get a little bit more tension, obviously, with Cody and Punk at the end. Yeah, tension there the whole time. I know we got mixed feelings on Punk, so I'll just leave it there. So at least in the men's, some potential. A little bit of a mishap or a misstep with the Usos in terms of my opinions. Just for a fun fact, winner, Cody Rhodes eliminated 5 people. 4 people. 4 people for his win. Theory, Shinsuke, Gunther, and Punk. Bayley put in a little bit more work, though. She eliminated Indy, Candice, Tegan, Maxine, Bianca, Tiffany, and Liv. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 people for her win. Alright, so any stories from the ladies' sides of things that we can see here in terms of build? I don't feel like there was as much. There was one, like I mentioned, with Jade and Nia. There's potential there because Jade just showing off how strong she was. Picked up Nia, no problem, I believe, twice. So that was great. I guess we did have a little continuation story-wise of Kabuki Warriors and Kane Carter and Katana Chance as they eliminated a little bit. Yeah, they eliminated each other. I think the former champs got the upper hand on the current champs this time. Yeah, other than that, I'm not seeing any standouts in terms of like continuation of stories or missteps. And that could have been, in general, like a build for the Women's Rumble. The ladies didn't have as much build, I feel, in comparison to the Men's Rumble. We had a lot of... Obviously, the men, we had a lot more men declare for the Rumble in comparison to the ladies. But we had a lot of tension, especially with the Raw roster, as we saw with the final 6 participants of the Rumble, all being Raw superstars. Granted, you had the big players of SmackDown being in the Fatal 4-Way with AJ, Randy, and LA Knight. I guess that kind of tells you how much more big players, quote-unquote, they have on Raw in comparison to SmackDown. I'm going to maybe sneeze, so I apologize. Yeah. Excuse me. So, just an interesting thing I noticed towards the end of that Rumble of like, holy shit, there's a lot of Raw people in here. I guess SmackDown, obviously it's a shorter show, but maybe they need to build up some people. Lashley and Cross seem to be in this weird state of obviously fighting each other, but I feel like those would be the next 2 big names if they built them up. Lashley doesn't take too much, I feel. Not that I've ever been personally a big Lashley fan, but I feel like he could slot into that easier. Cross, I want to be in that picture, but it seems like he doesn't get the momentum going. Hopefully this Final Testament stuff can get the ball rolling for him, and he could be added into that bigger title picture group. So yeah, the men I felt had a lot of tension built in. Obviously, Drew's been making his case for a while. We had the Punk and Rhodes stuff. You know, Sammy coming back and being part of that picture as well. Jay is a mix, just because he's claiming to be main event Jey Uso, but hasn't done too much in recent weeks. So we'll have to see how that continues out. Ladies, they didn't have much build. I think we had Rhea and Becky stare down this past Monday, maybe the Monday before. Bayley kept talking about how she was going to go after Rhea to build damage control, or at least, you know, have them all have the gold. Nia and Becky and Rhea kind of have a thing going on. Yeah. So how about the people who didn't show up? Well, there was a few people who didn't show up. I think if we were going to compare to this to my predictions video from a month ago, I absolutely missed the ball. Like Julia, I know was a big one. I was like, oh yeah, she might show up. I don't think contractually, there you go. I think it lined up for her appearance here. I think she still has one or two more appearances, or she goes till March, February. Not her time yet to make an appearance. I said Mickie James was going to make an appearance after her kind of leaving Impact. I believe she's working OVW now as their head coach. Could be wrong there. Didn't have any of the moms returning. No Alexa Bliss, no Carmella. I think those are the only two there. Sonya Deville's not back from injury yet. No Raquel Rodriguez. I thought she would have been kind of a shoo-in. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with her, if she has an injury or just taking some time. I mean, obviously NXT-wise, there's not a lot of people that showed up, but that's different. No B-Fab. She made her appearance last year. Beth Phoenix not making an appearance at all. Well, granted, makes sense. No legends. Sorry, just scrolling through the roster page, see who stands out here in terms of names. Charlotte has the injury, so that makes sense. Cora Jade has the injury. Dakota Kai not back from her injury with her knee. Talked about Isla not being in there, I think. I think that's everybody. Talked about Liv making a return at 30. Hey, Naomi's back on the roster page officially. Nice. No Nikki Cross, though she's been at this weird like trance state in the background of shots. So not a lot going on for her. I don't know what her thing would have been, like walk to the ring, immediately get thrown out, walk back. Probably. Interesting, Stephanie McMahon's still on the roster page. Like, she's been long gone. What are we doing here? No Tamina making an appearance for her, you know, once a year thing. No return of Trish. I was surprised by that. I think that was one I had a shoe in. Yeah, alright. So, at least in terms of the ladies, a few ones that were not letdowns, but I guess surprises, like, oh, they weren't involved. In terms of the men, obviously there's a lot more. We get into the tag competitors. We get into the more lower card people. So, for example, no Alpha Academy, no DIY, no Authors of Pain, no Street Profits, no LWO, no Garza and Humberto. Rey Mysterio didn't make his return yet from his knee injury. No Pete Dunne, no Tyler Bate. Trying to go off the top of my head here, but as I'm going to start to scroll, no Apollo Crews, not that he's been doing anything. No Ashante Adonis. No Big E Miracle return. Let that man chill, even though it'd be awesome. No Braun Strowman return. That was a surprise. Brock got replaced, rightly so. No Creeds. No Cameron Grahams. No Cedric Alexander, R.I.P. Let's say no. Well, no, he's not main roster. No Dragon Lee. Eric's still hurt. No Giovanni Vinci. La la la. JD McDonough was in there for like a minute. No Jinder. He got hindered. No Veer and Sangha. No Cena showing up. No Cena making a return. No OC. Yeah, a lot of tag people not in this. No Pretty Deadly. Unfortunately. MVP was kind of there. Not really. Odyssey Jones hasn't done anything since his call-up. Talked about Pete. Ridge is back in NXT. Bobby Roode's just kind of been backstage, so I don't know if we can count him. No Sheamus making a return. No Solo Sikoa. He would appear in the Fatal 4-Way, though. Got The Miz. No Titus O'Neil. No Wade Barrett making a surprise entrance. No Xavier Woods. No Zion Quinn, but they haven't done anything with him either. So, a lot of misses. Not like, oh my god, that would have changed everything. But in terms of like who was there, a lot of just people not there. And I guess that will leave me with my final point for the Rumble. Do we go back to a 40? We only did 40-man once. We did the 50-man also once, but that was different. That was blood money, and it wasn't an official Rumble. How do we feel about going back to a 40-man Rumble? Now, obviously, with that, you get the factor of more time. You do get 10 more entrants. You could spice it up a little bit more, and I'm saying this for both the men's and the women's. You got the roster depth, but does it become too much time and too long of one thing? I don't know. I think I'd like to see it, and I don't know if it's just that morbid curiosity of like, does it work? Does it not work? Maybe you do it 1 year, like you dip your toe into it again like they did in 2012, 2014, whatever year that was. Do you try it again? Like I said, you have the roster depth there, but then it could also just be seen of like, you're just putting people in there to put them in there. Do you want more quality over quantity type thing here? And I think, now that I say that out loud, I think that is a better thing to do. Get your superstars, get your wrestlers up to this level where people are invested, as we saw, I think, with that final 6 of Raw. Like, everybody has a backing of like potential reasoning, at least in a storyline perspective, of like how they could win or why they would want to win. Obviously booking's a different story, but you want people who get reactions. You don't want just like, oh, here's superstar A, here's superstar B. Yeah, they're just there to be a body to throw out or be in there to make up this number 30 or the composition of 30 superstars. You don't want that. So maybe, yeah, stick with the 30, continue with the build. I don't know, obviously storytelling wise, that'll make a difference. I know a lot of people bitch about the music. That may also be a factor, but also I think that kind of goes hand in hand with how you're booked. If you're more prevalent and your music is out there, people will resonate. I know there were a few times where I was like, oh, wait a minute. Oh yeah, it's so-and-so. Okay, cool. Like, it just takes a couple of seconds compared to a Rock and Austin where you kind of know instantaneously, oh, it's them. It's not like I have to ponder this, then I know who it is. Obviously, they put the names on the Trons as well for that exact reason. I don't know if it's just making better tunes there or if it's just booking them better. But yeah, I guess that makes more sense. Get a quality over quantity aspect here. And then maybe you can go to 40 down the road once everybody's kind of spiced up in terms of interest level. We'll see. But moving on over to topic 2, let's talk about WrestleMania. Let's take what we have kind of learned from the Rumble and see if we can predict WrestleMania 40's card. Now, what I'm going to use to kind of help me do this is the handy dandy WWE 2K23. So just from a visual standpoint, you're not going to see anything podcast-wise. So if you're listening to audio, audio feeds, you don't have to worry about like, oh, I gotta go check out the video now. No, this is just going to help me in terms of like laying everything out and having people here. So in comparison to WrestleMania 39, we're just going to use this as our general layout of like what's going to happen at WrestleMania 40 or what could potentially be planned. We're going to go off of that, of how many matches there were, and I believe it is 14. So just quickly from WrestleMania 39, we had Austin Theory versus John Cena. We had the men's tag showcase. We had Seth Rollins and Logan Paul. We had the 3-on-3 ladies, Trish, Lita, Becky going against Damage Control. You had Mysterio and Dom, Ray and Dom. You had Rhea and Charlotte. You did have Pat McAfee and Miz. I'm not going to count that one. So then we did have the main event, which was Usos against Owens and Zayn. So you had 7 in night 1. Night 2, you had Brock versus Omos. You had the women's tag showcase. You had Gunther against Sheamus and Drew. You had Bianca against Asuka. You had Snoop Dogg. Not going to count it. You had Edge versus Finn. And you had Roman against Cody Rhodes. So, 13 matches. So, that'll give them time to do, their little comedy stuff if they want to, any backstage interactions. So, we're going to book 13 matches here for WrestleMania, and we'll see how accurate we can get this, 2-3 months out. All right, so let's start with the obvious ones. So, or, what I think are the more obvious ones. So let's start with Seth and his world title. So Seth, I believe, is going to be going against one CM Punk. I think that is the route that we're going to be going. Could they pull a swerve and throw somebody else in there, like a Drew, like a Gunther? I certainly think so. I don't know if they would throw that much of a curveball, but I think that's the route that they're going. I think it's going to be Seth and Punk. You can give Punk the main event spot. I don't know who wins it. Also, it's it's determined on is Seth healthy? How is this MCL tear? Is it kayfabe? Is it real? Whatever it is. If he can keep healthy, if he can keep going, and then afterwards get whatever he's got to get done and taken care of, great. I think the two can work well together. Obviously, we've seen their promo work against each other. So I think that is pretty safe to say that Punk and Rollins will be going for the World Championship or World title at Mania. So we'll lock that one in. On the ladies' side of things, sorry, I gotta go through here and do all the customization crap. All right, let's talk about Rhea. So I know they want us to believe that Rhea is going to be going against Bayley, because Damage Control still so far seems to be all hunky-dory. We haven't really gotten to the point where they're at a breakup, and it's going to be interesting to see how this falls apart, if it's going to fall apart. We've been building tensions a little while where it just feels like Bayley's on the outskirts of the group, not in any particularly bad way, but she's just left out, where Dakota understands the other three and Bayley just doesn't understand or feels left behind. So those tensions going into the Rumble, if there was a split, I think that would have made more sense. Now it's weird because why wouldn't she come out Friday, declare to challenge Rhea, if everything's fine, if that makes sense? If everything's hunky-dory, then the plan should just be like, yep, we're going to go after Rhea, we're going to get the gold across all brands, whatever it is. There's no tension right now for her to go against Io. I'm still going to put that as a match, so we got to figure out who's going against Rhea. And I think, at least in terms of call-outs, Becky has been the forefront. I would like it for Bianca to do a Bianca-Rhea match. I think that would be great. However, they're on opposite brands. So if we're following the rules, I don't think it works. So I think we got to kind of go with this Becky-Rhea thing, which will be a great match too, don't get me wrong. But I think that's going to be the case. So I think it's Rhea going to be defending her Women's World Championship. I don't remember what the titles are. I think it's Women's World. I think it's going to be that. So Becky and Rhea for the Women's World Championship for Monday Night Raw. Boop. All right, and then we just kind of talked about it as well on the other side of things for the SmackDown Women's Championship, or the, what do they call it, the Women's Universal? I don't recall what they call it. But I think it's going to be Io and Bayley. I do not know how they're going to get to, obviously the tension between the group to have those two go at it. That is the big question mark here. The WWE Women's Championship. That's all it is. I don't know how they get there, but I think that's the route we're going. I don't know if... I think it was What Culture joked around like, oh, Bayley's understand Japanese this whole time. She knows that they're shit-talking her. That seems a little goofy, but there has to be some dividing force between the group in order for this to happen. I think it's just a matter of how and when. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Obviously, we got time. It's very weird, once again, why Bayley wouldn't just declare right away, yeah, I'm going for Rhea. And also, can she do that and just be like, oops, I changed my mind, just talk to Nick Aldis or whatever and be like, nope, that's not the case. I don't know. All right, so all is right in the world. Cody's going to finish the story. So let's just put that in there. Cody Rhodes going after the WWE Universal Championship against Roman Reigns. I think we get a lot of things cleared up now, thanks to the Rumble and Cody actually winning. It seems like that is cleared up. Could there still be some shenanigans with The Rock, with Punk, if you get an Elimination Chamber type thing? Somehow they skirt their way in there to make a triple threat. Sure. I don't think that'll be the case. I think it'll just be Cody and Roman. We'll finish the story. We'll go from there. So we got our 4 main title picture matches set. So let's talk about mid-card. Because tag team is throwing me for a loop, to be honest. So let's talk about the IC title. Now, prior to recent scandals, I would say Brock was probably a heavy, not favorite, but it was something that was being talked about with Gunther. Just get the big guys in there, give Gunther, make him feel even more dominant with taking on Brock, similar to how Cody beat him and got the rub, quote unquote. You could do that with Gunther, make him feel even more of an impending doom. If Gunther's going to defend here, now this is where it gets a little shaky, because do you do a multi-man match? I think they could. There's certainly potential. You put like a Chad Gable in there, you put a Ricochet in there, you put Ivar, Bronson Reed, maybe Jey Uso in there. Like, you have a lot of contenders for that Intercontinental Championship that, okay, that checks out. But I don't think, in terms of Mania match itself, unless they pin Gunther, similar to a Roman situation, it's almost like a false win unless you want to protect Gunther in that way, where, oh, he didn't technically get pinned, he's still a beast, and then move him up to the world title picture. Okay, fine. I'm going to just take this from a one-on-one perspective. We have to rebuild him a little bit because he's been taking a break for a little while these past couple weeks / month or two, and he's kind of built up Tozawa. But I think Chad Gable should still finish this story. We had a chance with him a while back. Gosh, I didn't put the title on. I believe it was in his hometown on that, the opportunity he had to get the IC title there. Unfortunately, heartbreaking. Didn't capture it. I think if we rebuild Chad a little bit, get him that momentum back, and show how strong and talented he is, I think that would be a good one. Give Chad a big moment. He's been there for a while. Obviously, he's won tag team gold numerous times, but to kind of propel him, not that he has to leave the goofiness of the Alpha Academy, but just establish him more as a star as well, and try and also elevate that group. Not fully out of the comedy role, but make them also feel like a threat as well. Like, New Day's very goofy, but they're credible. I think this would help Alpha Academy do that again, and not just be comic relief all the time. Yeah, all right. U.S. title. Who's Logan Paul going against? We talked about it in the last topic with the Rumble, how the match ended with, the disqualification, and the shenanigans there so they can continue the Owens story past this point. Does that continue till Mania? I would say no. That just seems like a long time. Not that they can't do long-term storytelling. Once again, this whole Cody thing, the whole Roman Reigns thing. Long-term stories can work. I just have a tough time thinking out that far of like, what do you do to keep it interesting till April? To have the audience, you know, enticed still behind this, and involved. So I want to go a one-on-one as well. I know all of our matches have been one-on-one, so it's like, oh, well, this is kind of boring. I'm just going to speak it into existence. I think LA Knight goes here. Obviously, he's been in the world title picture, which is great, so this can, you know, also a little bit negative because it feels like a demotion. I think this is just a way to be like, hey, be rewarding, you know, give him that moment, give him that championship. Like, even if it isn't the world, it's like, you're doing a great job. Let's give this over to you. And I don't think Logan was meant to be a super long champion anyway. I think it was more for the name notoriety. So you can still pull the names in, having Logan participate at Mania, give LA Knight this moment. The crowd will go crazy for him, keep elevating him, and then he can keep having great matches with the U.S. title, similar to, I would say, like a Gunther. Build that back up, because he's got a lot of matches that could be good against him, whether it's an Owens, whether it's Mysterio, a Santos, Carlito, you know, the SmackDown roster that they got over there. There's a lot of potential. So I would say LA and Logan Paul for the U.S. All right. So let's go to the tag. Now, there's a match that I want, but I don't know if it's the match we're going to get. Now, I believe, as of recording, tomorrow, DIY takes on Judgment Day for the Tag Team Championships. Unfortunately, I don't think this is DIY's time. It seems like how we've been building, it's going to be a different team, and it's a team that we kind of already ran with, and for some reason we have a surprisingly amount of nostalgia and we're revisiting. But I think it's going to be Judgment Day. It's going to be Finn and Damian Priest taking on Awesome Truth. I think that's what we're going with. It's a weird one just because, once again, why are we going back to this team from many, many years ago? I don't know. It seems odd. This one could also somehow turn into a multi-man match where you get more tag teams involved. I'd be fine with that. You know, get more people involved, get them that Mania payday or whatever. But if we're just going to do single team versus single team, I think at least how the story or what elements they're telling right now, it seems like this is the path we're going to go. Obviously, we have Truth trying to be Judgment Day. Finally, Priest on the Rumble seems to have snapped and be the final member to be like, nope, get out of here. So we could go from there. That's also a long story, though. How do you keep this going from past Elimination Chamber to Mania? That's a good question as well. So this is maybe where you could slot some extra teams in there. Do you put the Creeds in there? Do you put DIY in there? Do you put the Street Profits in there? I'm trying to think of other more established teams. I'm not sure. Do you have a returning Zayn and Owens in there? Maybe, but it seems like they want to do their own thing. So, not sure. But at least right now, that's what it seems storytelling-wise they're telling us. So, Awesome Truth going against Balor and Priest for the undisputed tag titles. I don't think I have a prediction for the women's tag. So right now, Kabuki Warriors have it. The women's tag division's weird, where it feels like they want it to be a thing, but also don't want it to be a thing at the same time. And I don't feel like we have any super strong tag teams. Fire and Dawn were great in NXT, but once they've got out to the main roster, they immediately lost to Ronda and Shayna to lose the NXT tag and unify those. They haven't done anything since this most recent challenge with Katana Chance and Kane Carter. Speaking of Kane Carter and Katana Chance, they're good. They've been tag teaming for ages, and they got a good moveset and chemistry together. Still some things they could grease out, iron out, whatever. But in terms of personality and the people's excitement behind them, I don't think it's there. And I don't know if that's just investment overall in the storytelling with the ladies division or the women's division. I'm not sure. But I don't know if they're Mania caliber. And that sounds bad. You could have done the Sasha and Bayley route. But obviously Mercedes, Sasha isn't back. She still hasn't shown up anywhere. So, there's a hope, there's a chance, there's a dream. But I don't think that's the route we're going. Do you build up Candice and Indy? Potential. But that's another one where it feels like it's been a rough stop-start type thing with them. So I don't know if I have any strong enough contenders to put in here for the women's tag belts to really have that feel like a Mania type match, So for now, I'm gonna leave that one for a maybe. So right now, if you're keeping track with us, we got 7 matches booked. So we have 6 left. So right now we got Seth and Punk for the world title. We got Rhea versus Becky for the women's world title. Io and Bayley for the WWE Women's Championship. Cody and Roman for the WWE Universal Championship. Chad Gable and Gunther for the IC title. Logan Paul versus LA Knight for the US title. And Finn Balor and Damian Priest against Awesome Truth for the Undisputed Tag titles. All right, so now we're kind of in that we're just fighting to fight type thing. And I think, at least in terms of storytelling, I think one over on Monday Night Raw has been Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn. How do you keep escalating this to a point where the story's Mania level? I don't know. But at least the tension seems to continue to be there between the two. This could be Drew's send-off if he doesn't re-sign with WWE and either jump ship or take some time for himself. I think this could be a good send-off match for him. So I would put that there. Now, this one's tough just because the story hasn't been building there, except for a brief moment in the Rumble. But I think we're still led to believe that it's going to be Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso facing off. Uso v. Uso. You want to get spicy and throw Solo in here? You could. You just have to have a little bit more of a breakup, obviously, with the bloodline. But Uso versus Uso could definitely show up or happen. It's just got to get the build in. That's a tough one with being cross promotion. But they could certainly do it. All right. 4 left. Let's get another kind of showcase-esque thing we got here. I talked about it with the Rumble. Just seems like they could go and build off of it with this clean elimination. I don't know if I want to see it. I think I'd rather see a different match. But in terms of build, it works. It's Jade Cargill versus Nia Jax. Quick, easy elimination for the Rumble. Slammed her a few times. Jade's got, we've seen it in AEW. She's got that kind of spice behind her promos. So I think these two could go back and forth on the mic and build this up. I'd rather see the other face-off we got of Bianca and Jade, which that could also fit in here. It's just that's more, we think that's face versus face, which isn't a deal breaker. I'm just trying to think of what Nia does in this meantime. Like, does she go after Rhea after Elimination Chamber to give Rhea that match in Australia? And then move on to Becky afterwards, and then Nia's kind of in this weird limbo. I don't know, but that's going to be my guess, Jade versus Nia. So we got 3 more. 3 more. Let's say they're going to do their tag showcases again. or some kind of giant match that highlights a lot of people, right? Now, I know you're like, Brett, you just talked about the women's tag division. You know, you're not feeling super confident there. That's true. I think I can put a men's one together, though. So I'm gonna throw DIY in here once I find them. So I'm gonna throw DIY in there just because we've been building them pretty well, getting them some decent momentum, and it's actually working. So we'll have DIY be our first team. I think we're also gonna throw in the Pride there, aka the Street Profits. We'll have them in there, which will also lead to our third team, which is going to be the Authors of Pain. We got the whole Final Testament build there, so I think that could carry over into that. So that's 2 SmackDown teams, so we're going to need a third Raw team, so I am going to throw in Imperium. I'm going to put Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci in here. They are going to be our 4th team for this. Sorry, just trying to find everybody to keep myself in check. Angelo. And then my last team was Imperium, right? Ludwig or Giovanni. There we go. So yeah, 4-way showcase, DIY, Authors of Pain, Street Profits, and Imperium. I think that could be a nice tag showcase if you're going to do that again, run it back from last year. So, if we're going to give the men a showcase, let's get the women a showcase. Now, do we do the tag route, or do we do some type of just like elimination battle royale type thing? Let's go 4-way. Let's go tag team. This is where we're going to put the tag titles. This one's probably not going to happen. This is probably if we're, you know, doing betting odds of like, oh, how right were your predictions? Well, this was probably the bottom of the barrel, or did not even have a chance. So we have the Kabuki Warriors. I'm going to put them in against the Way. So Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. I'm going to put also... See, do Chelsea and Piper stick together, or do they split? I'm going to put Fire and Dawn in here. So we got a heel tag team from SmackDown. And then Monday Night Raw, we need a heel team. Oh, that's 2 heel teams there with Kabuki and Isla Dawn. Do we do that? We could do another face team. Do I put Maxine and Ivy in there? No, let's put Katana and Kaden in there. Alright, so for the women's tag titles, Kabuki Warriors, The Way, Fire and Dawn, Chance and Carter. So what's our last match? Now we get the fun, real fun stuff of like filling in the blanks here. So for this second half, we've added Drew and McIntyre versus Sammy, Uso versus Uso, Cargill versus Jax, men's tag showcase with DIY, Authors of Pain, Street Profits, and Imperium, women's tag showcase for the belts, Kabuki, The Way, Fire and Dawn, or Unholy Union, Alliance, whatever it is, Chance and Carter. Oh, okay. This is another one that's just kind of YOLO. We're going to get the returning Rey Mysterio. Returning Rey Mysterio from his knee injury. He's going to be tagging with a partner of his choosing, but he's going to be going against his son and his other adopted son who he broke his heart. So he's going to be going against Dominic Mysterio. We're going to run that back. And he's going to be going against Dominic and Santos Escobar. But it's going to be... No, not Sammy. Santos. It's going to be Rey Mysterio and Bad Bunny against Santos and Dominic. I know, very silly. Bad Bunny's got that weird gap, or his tour just ends for night 2 of WrestleMania. So you're telling me there's a chance? Who knows? But yeah, interesting Mania card. A lot of singles matches. You know, nothing wrong with that. But yeah, we'll have to see. So from the top, bottom, whatever. We got Rey Mysterio and Bad Bunny teamed together going against Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio. We got the women's tag titles in a women's showcase. We got the Kabuki Warriors against The Way, against Unholy Union, against Chance and Carter. We got the men's tag showcase, DIY versus Authors of Pain versus Street Profits versus Imperium. We got Nia Jax taking on Jade Cargill. We got Jimmy Uso going against Jey Uso. We got Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn. We got the Judgment Day defending the Undisputed Tag titles against Awesome Truth. We got Logan Paul defending his U.S. Championship against LA Knight. Yeah. We got Gunther defending his IC title against Chad Gable. You got Roman Reigns defending his Universal Championship against Cody Rhodes. Io Sky defending her WWE Women's title against Bayley. Rhea Ripley defending her Women's World Championship against Becky Lynch. And Seth Rollins defending his World Championship against CM Punk. 13 matches. Book it. Ship it. All that stuff. We'll have to take a revisit to this and see how wrong I was. And boy, howdy, do I think I'll be wrong in a lot of spaces. But it's fun. This is at least where I'm thinking we're headed post-Rumble, where storylines seem to be headed, builds seem to be going. We'll have to see. Like I said, there's still a lot of question marks. Is Seth healthy enough? How does Damage Control break up? What's going on with the IC picture, the US picture, the women's tag picture, if any? A lot of questions in the air, but at least from small tidbits of what I've seen or picked up on, this has some potential, but we'll see. Well, everybody, this has been another episode of the Wait What Are We Talking About podcast. Appreciate everybody hanging out today. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011. If you guys ever want to catch the podcast live, you can always go over to twitch.tv/Enigma9011. You can drop a follow over there. You'll get notified when we go live, so you join in on the fun and chaos and conversation with us. But if you can't catch live, that's A-OK. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and puts one big video in MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, wherever you're listening or watching this, if you could click that follow, subscribe button, whatever it may be. It does seem small, but it does help the channel grow. So if you take the time to do that, we would love and appreciate you for it. Appreciate you guys hanging out today for all the wrestling talk. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the Royal Rumble. If you guys partook, let me know what you guys think is going to take place at WrestleMania 40. And let's just have some fun, because wrestling is awesome. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Hope you guys, or thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys had a good one. I'll see you guys on the next time. Bye.